Hello, I'm Lucy from Lulu's Cabinet, and today I'm going to talk you through making a paper mache animal mask. I'm going to be sculpting with clay, casting with plaster to create a mould, and then using paper mache to create my final outcome. So you can see I have my reference images next to where I'm sculpting. I'm just going to sculpt out the basic shapes. And as you can see, I've got some images of a lioness here to sculpt from. So I'm looking at them all the time to make sure I'm getting accurate representation. Underneath my wooden board, I have a little spinning plate so I can turn my sculpt around. And then just remember that as you build up layers with clay, it's going to get bigger and bigger. I've printed some images here of African mask reference. It's going to give me some ideas to make my mask more unique. Always use my hands to sculpt with at first, and then once I've got kind of the basic shape in, then I use my sculpting tools. As this is a mask, I want my features to be defined. So I'm just using my tools here to exaggerate areas. When you think you've done, refine and refine again and make those features really stand out. Use a wet sponge with water and just dab the top of the clay. This will get rid of any marks that you've made from your sculpting tools. Just spend a bit of time doing this. You get a nice smooth finish. And that's your sculpting done. So I'm going to cast my sculpt using plaster. The reason why I'm doing this is because I don't want the final outcome to be in clay, so I'm not going to fire it in a kiln. My mask is going to be worn, so it's going to be in paper mache, so it's very light. So once the plaster's set, I'm just going to remove the clay from the mould. So use my tools to help me. Pull out all the clay and then give your mould a wash. Toothbrush is quite good to get into any little areas. The next step is paper mache. So I've got some brown paper, which is it's kind of quite shiny, quite tough. So I'm kind of breaking down the fibres a little bit by scrunching it up, opening it out, and scrunching it up again. In my bowl, in my mix, I've got some water, PVA glue, and also a little bit of polyfiller powder. And I'll show you why now. So once you've paper mached it into your mould and a couple of layers, maybe 2 or 3, I'm going to sand down the mask to make it nice and smooth. So that polyfiller has just allowed me to smooth it down. And now it's time to paint. For this mask I'm using inks, but you can use whatever paint you want. Acrylic's really good as well. So I'm just building up some layers, starting with my darker tones. And I'm placing these in kind of areas that kind of go in, or where would be in shadow. So in the eyes, under the nose, in the chin. I'm looking at my reference images to help me. I've added some highlights and then I'm building up an overall colour. Now I really like the quality of the paper mache. It kind of looks a bit like wood, so I'm just using ink as it's very thin. It's not going to cover that up too much. And just to add in some extra highlights to make my features stand out of my lioness. And that's it. That's all I'm doing, but you can add patterns, as much detail as you want. So there's some brief information about how to make an animal mask. If you want some more information, contact me at Lulu's Cabinet.